Welcome to In Conversation. I'm delighted to welcome my guest, friend, guest. This will be Facebook Live. We will be taking questions from the audience here, but also from Facebook Live, and Ian and Becky will funnel me those questions. Please share our page, like our page, tell everyone you know is interested in the acting profession. They're going to want to hear the advice of our guest. Sara Gilbert has worn so many hats in this business. Producer, talk show host, and actress. But I think so many hats gives you perspective from so many different chairs that I think are really going to help actors understand from your point of view. Well, first of all, welcome, Sara. Your story, anything that you want to share about where you came from, where you grew up, and how you got into the business.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect that question. I grew up in Encino, right in the San Fernando Valley. My family was a show business family, so my grandfather created the Honeymooners. So when I was growing up, it was always all these old comics sitting around, coming for his birthday, roasting each other, and that was sort of the environment. My mom had done some acting and dancing, and my grandmother had done some modeling, and so it was just sort of in the blood. And then my siblings were actors as well on Little House on the Prairie when I was growing up, and I saw them doing it, and I saw how many gifts they got at Christmas. I'm not fair at all. So I felt, I wanted to be a part of that, and then I remember there was a school play in elementary school, just like a bad play we put together, Wizard of Oz, and I was assigned to pick Toto, and to play Toto, and I thought, well, I should be Dorothy, but okay. But I remember following the group as Toto and barking at just funny times, and the audience started laughing at me, and I thought, oh, okay, I've stumbled onto something. I am supposed to play this part, and I understand part of it. And so then I just asked my mom if I could do it, and she said if I kept my grades up, I could do it, and started working at 6, and then, the rest unfolded.
Do you have some audition stories, first of all, as an actress, and then we'll talk about as a producer, but as an actress, what's the weirdest audition you put you through?
Well, I think it's maybe not one audition, but there have been times where I've auditioned where you don't really feel like the people are listening, watching, or engaged at all. Or I've had that in pitches as well. Like somebody was paused and started watching a news story in the middle of a pitch. So things like that.
Oh God.
I'm trying to think of an odd audition. I think usually if it's odd, it's my fault.
That leads to a good question in terms of your preparation. When you are preparing to audition, what do you do?
When I'm preparing, I will look at the material a lot of times, memorize the material. That's a huge thing for me, and that's a huge, not to jump, but that's a huge thing for me on the other side when I'm watching people audition, particularly if there's one page and I think the person didn't learn it. I feel they don't want it enough or don't know it enough to really be free. So part of it for me is really just knowing the words. Then it's, who is this person? What does this person want? What's this person's problem or
that stuff sounds
crisis? And then it's who are the parents? I like to think about that a lot. Like, who raised this person? What were their their strengths, what were their deficits, what did they expect of this person, how did this person, you know, or how did I let them down, try to keep it in myself. So a lot of that, and what I want in the scene, or what I want in the whole piece in general also. And then when it comes to the actual audition, then it's also if there's beats that I don't understand or don't feel right, then it's finding specific substitutions, like what can I use here to anchor myself in this part, or who can I pretend I'm talking to. When it comes to the audition, I think the auditions that have gone the most poorly for me are, and I'm not a great auditioner, I'll just say that as a disclaimer, but the ones that have gone the most poorly for me are when I'm out of my body trying to please the person that I'm auditioning for, instead of excited about what I'm playing. If I can come back to, oh my God, I can't wait to share this joy, to share what I have created, why I love this, it almost doesn't matter who's there, and I can use any of that nervousness or excitement in the character. And then something else that is helpful for me when I'm feeling nervous is I will tell myself it's not really about getting this part, I'm here to serve these people. These people are trying to find the right person for this role, and I may or may not be that person, but just to get out of my ego, talk to whatever you believe in, the universe, whatever, please let me get out of my ego, I'd like to just serve these people. And it kind of takes that self-centered piece out. So you're not bringing like a taking energy, you know?
That's say, yeah, go ahead. That's such important advice. Good morning to our studio in Australia.
Good morning.
It is 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Welcome Phil Evans in the studio in Australia. Happy to take questions from Australia as well. And we have some of our
I don't take questions from Australia.
Australians or what you brought up about memorizing, I want to talk about for a second, because that is a big divide among my colleagues who teach. Is there are teachers who will say, absolutely don't memorize, hold the material. And my feeling is no actor ever got better holding a script in there. So your feeling is very strongly.
I don't mind if somebody's holding it and they look to it in an emergency or for reference, but I don't like if I feel like somebody didn't learn it, because then I feel like the path to freedom is preparation. So I just don't feel like you can be free if you're not prepared. I wonder where I got that.
Disclaimer. Well, since we're on that subject about producing and auditions, switch hats for a second. As a producer, when you're watching auditions, what are the do's and the don'ts?
Well, you know, we talked about this briefly, that if I'm watching auditions and there's 10 people auditioning, in my experience, 9 of the 10 auditions will look almost exactly the same. And so then when if they all look like that and there's no time to find somebody else, then it just becomes, okay, who didn't make a big mistake? Then I'm just looking, okay, that wasn't great. So then I'm looking for who didn't make a mistake. But ideally, you want someone to own the character in a way that nobody else could. So it's like, if Jack Nicholson plays something, nobody else is going to play it like him. So that, to me, is a better way to get a job, because you set yourself apart and it's authentic.
I know you've heard some of this before. Let's ask some questions from the audience. When I call your name, stand so that Sarah can see who you are. This is from Chaz, who's here. Okay. As an actor, what do you find to be the biggest differences between working on a television set versus a film set?
Well, do you mean multi-camera versus?
Yeah.
So I guess just the pace and how you rehearse. So on a multicam, you'll Monday, usually it's a Monday, read the script, and then some people rehearse on Mondays, a lot of people don't because the biggest rewrite happens that day. So then Tuesday and Wednesday are generally rehearsal days, so you run each scene a few times. Tuesday will be a studio producer's run through, and then more rewriting. Wednesday's the network run through, and then Thursday the cameras come in and you start blocking everything out where you're gonna basically choreographing with the cameras, and then Friday refreshing everything and shooting the show. So it's kind of like doing a play with just a few days rehearsal. So the pace is really fast, but it's great because you sort of play the arc of the whole show. On films, it's like you could be shooting the last scene of the film on the first day. So it's just, and it's that one scene, rehearse it for a little while, figure out the shots, generally start with the master, and then you just keep running that scene or even pieces of it if there's a shot that doesn't work through the whole scene over and over and over. And so you really have to map out where you are in the piece and what's already happened. And I mean, obviously you should do that anyway, but some of that's done for you when you're running it straight through.
If I may, do you have a preference for which style you prefer to work in, or is it just whichever is?
I prefer to work it with a live audience because it's so fun and it's the pace is faster. But then if I love the character, I think doing a film would be a fun way to do it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is from Lucian Douglas from Texas.
Professor.
Do you have
can
any?
call me Professor Sarah.
The BFA program of UT Texas comes here for the spring, and he is in charge of that.
Nice.
He's brought them. Do you have any advice for people moving to Los Angeles from a university acting program?
What do you want to do?
For the students.
Yeah, or like, you mean in terms
For
of
the
Yeah,
students.
and in terms of students moving from wherever it might be, Connecticut, Indiana, Washington, and they want to pursue a career in acting. And they've gotten their degree in a university, and they're 4 years, and they've decided not to go to New York, but to come to Los Angeles. They don't know anybody.
Right.
Where do they begin?
Well, they come to Howard Fine.
That was not a plan. That was so not a plan.
And that's what I tell them. But once they've gotten to Howard Fine, and they've done their foundation class and their homework and application class and David Corey's class, etc. And while they're doing that, just in terms of getting started in their career, meeting people, getting your work seen, because if the work's not seen, you're dead in the water, right? So getting your work seen by agents, by casting directors, by producers, the ones who are tried and true, and perhaps the young people who are just getting started as directors too. How do you build that network?
Well, I would say, this is probably a more philosophical answer to the question because I may not be in the best position to know exactly what somebody should do in that scenario, but what I would say is I know somebody that always says that they want to make jewelry, but what they're actually doing is teaching. And I'll say, okay, well, here's a job. You could be an assistant for this person who has a really big jewelry company, but they'll continue to teach. And I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with that. But the bottom line is you have to do what you say you want. So people will say they want a career in acting, but they'll actually be spending all their time doing something else.
Right.
So I would say it's more about coming to class, doing the work, and then when the job doesn't find you, creating your own opportunities, making a film, getting your friends together, finding ways to borrow equipment, posting it online, whatever you could do. I know you do things where industry people come and watch work or talk to people. I think if you are looking for it, you'll know what to do next. The things just sort of appear if you make it your priority.
I know I'm a New Yorker, and I've known so many actors who wait for the job to come to them, you know. They want to play Hamlet, but if you want to do it, go out and band
Just do
together
it,
and
yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Yes, great.
Thank you so much. This is from our own Ian Cardoni. Stand there in front. In your experience, what is the basis for your longevity and continued success in the industry? What keeps you motivated?
Well, I mean, somebody asked me this yesterday in an interview, and I was just saying, I think perseverance, like if you hang out long enough, they just have to invite you back to the party. So, I think I'm so stubborn that I just keep trying and just try to create opportunities. You know, I remember you once saying about Danny DeVito that, you should probably say it, but that no one was thinking he would be the one for the job. He made himself the one for the job. But you
and we'll look at One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and some of the other work that he's done. You wouldn't look at him and say, movie star.
Right.
He created that opportunity because he was so original in some of the things that he did.
Right. So yeah, I think it is just, if the job's not coming to you, create the job.
This is along the same lines. Where's Brooklyn? You are. What skills have you found most important, not only to the longevity of your acting career, but to serve you as a producer-director?
Say it again, I want to get it right.
What skills have you found most important, not only to the longevity of your acting career, but to serve you as a producer-director?
Well, skills for acting is probably being authentic, connecting to the inner voice. I mean, I still feel I have a lot of road to travel in terms of getting better as an actor, but it's that kind of relying on that truth meter. So you'll do something and you kind of can feel that you're out of integrity. So I'd say that, and just being brave, you know, wanting to bring myself to things and take risks and bring my emotions to it. In terms of being a producer, it's probably been good for me to learn to stand my ground and say when things don't feel right. I think a lot of the job is quality control, honestly, and so if you're not trusting your voice or deferring to other people, you can miss an opportunity to know, wait, no, I may have something to offer here. I mean, they're both different takes of the same thing. They're both about self and authentic self and bravery, just in different forms.
How did you get into producing? I
directed a short film when I was in college and produced that, as well as produced it with the shooting gallery at the time. And then when I decided to do the talk show, it was just it just happened, because I thought I was really afraid of public speaking, and so I just thought I should challenge that fear and create a talk show. So I ended up selling it and sort of fell into it like that.
Tackling the thing that you were most afraid of.
Yeah.
Mr. Corey talks about that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that you're most afraid of is what you're most capable of. And look at you. Would you describe yourself as a shy person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of you would describe yourselves as shy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot of the room. And yet we choose, and I'm in there, we choose this profession, maybe as a challenge to tackle that.
Yeah, and honestly, I find most actors to be pretty shy that I meet.
Yeah, the person singing, dancing on the table is not the
Right.
We're taking questions from Facebook. We're taking questions from the audience here live. Please like our page, share our page, and send us your questions for Sara Gilbert. This is from Gina Sims, who's here. There she is. Our generation grew up watching TV. What conversations are you having about where the TV industry is going?
Well, I think there's conversations going on about everything going online and how many people are going to be watching television sets, and there's so much content that it used to be people wanting 15 million people to watch, and now people are happy with a far smaller number. 6 million, 7 million is like a huge victory. So I think there's a lot of saturation of the marketplace. That can be some of the challenges, but then on the plus side, there's so much great content and so many opportunities for jobs, and TV in some ways is the new movies, because a lot of movies are franchises, and television, so many creative, brilliant writers have come there to make great projects. So I think that's what's exciting about television right now.
Thank you. Mickey Yamashita, there you are. She's also from the opera world, Mickey is.
Oh, wow.
In theater, a script is required to be locked down during previews before opening night. But I understand during sitcom taping, dialogue changes drastically during performance. Can you walk us through how to handle that as a performer while a crew and a studio audience is waiting?
Just like pray. You know, some shows change more than others. I actually really enjoy it because the audience, you get a better laugh because they're surprised. So there's like a built-in, generally better laugh, even if it's not a better joke. So I know that going in and have some confidence and have some fun with the challenge of remembering it. Some people have, my long-term memory is not great. My short-term memory is really good. So for me, it's fine. For some people, they really struggle with that, getting a line on the stage. But on the Connors, our writers really don't write a lot of alts, they're called, but I'll ask them for alts because I just like the game of it. But in terms of how to handle it, I would say just try to think of it as fun. And then that's half the battle, if you can think of it as fun and really think about what you're saying. If what you're saying makes sense, it's easier to remember it. And then usually I'll repeat it to myself a couple times, then I'll go back to the script supervisor, ask for what it was again, repeat it, run that little section with the actors. Okay, and then, you know, it's like a few times and then usually it's, you've got it.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. This is from Cody Lindley. Cody actually grew up as a Disney star.
Oh, cool.
Even went on to do Dancing with the Stars.
Nice.
Braver
Than I am.
So I think this question is personal. Transitioning from a kid to an adult actor, producer, host, and more successfully, what advice would you give to someone striving to do the same?
I think just passion and hard work, and to me the passion is the required element, and just keep trying and eventually it happens, I think. And some of what I said before, creating your own opportunities, and I think asking yourself, what am I supposed to do next? I mean, that's been my biggest sort of guiding force is, okay, what next? And then it just seems like a voice will tell me what I'm supposed to do next, and sometimes I push it away. Like right now, I keep thinking, oh, I'm supposed to do like a play or something. I'm like, no, I'm too busy, no. And I like push that voice away. But I think you're supposed to listen to that voice.
Thank you. This next question is from Facebook. We're taking questions from Facebook Live. Please like our page and share it. This is from Facebook. As someone who has embraced being both actor and producer, the hyphenate, do you find this is the way to go for people just breaking in?
Well, I think that you should do what you feel and what you feel passionate about. But yeah, producer in terms of creating opportunities for yourself, even if it's just making a little video of a scene. You know, it doesn't have to be on a large scale, but finding a way to create content that if you're dying to play a certain role, yes, make a little movie with you playing that role, write a short film. If you're not a great producer innately, find someone else. I guarantee somebody else around you will want to play that role. If you say, I want to play this part, find a friend that's a writer, you know, just be a producer in that way of putting the package together, but somebody else can run the budget and somebody else can help casting or do the other pieces for you.
This is from Karen Benjamin, there she is. What advice do you have for someone entering this business, well, in her case, returning to the business, at an advanced stage? Karen, we don't say advanced stage, we say mature. With regards to getting an agent, when she's coming back after years of, in her case, raising her family.
Right. You know, I guess it's just the same as it is at any age. I think of, sometimes I'll think for myself, oh, how much time do I have? What do I need to accomplish? How old am I? And then I just throw it out and just, it's not useful thinking really. So I just think it's the same path, and there are so many people that it's unlikely they ever would have gotten where they did, but they got there anyway. So I just rather model myself after those people than think about it as a negative.
I remember getting a text message from you, and I was on my way to actually a Red Sox game. And there was an episode of Roseanne, now the Connors, that you were really proud of your work in. So I want to ask you, what does it take for you to be proud of your work as an actress?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's, you know, you'll do so many scenes and you can feel okay about them or have mixed feelings about them. Sometimes something happens where it's like you start to soar. You guys have probably had this feeling where some other thing takes over and you're just connected. And so I tend to be most proud of those kind of scenes, you know, but I've talked to, and it's like things hit you just in the moment in such a free way. Now that can happen in pieces and scenes, but sometimes it just like soars for the whole scene. I've talked to Laurie Metcalf about this, and I ask her about her process a lot because I think she's such a great actress. And she'll talk about how rare that is. And so then you're like, oh, phew, okay. So, but, you know, you don't feel that way all the time. So that's, you know, that's when I feel probably most proud, is when it just flows like that.
That's great. This is from Nadja. There she is. If you can remember this, how many auditions did you have before you got a role, and how old were you?
I was 6, like I had mentioned before, so how many could I have had, really? I don't really know, but I do remember that when I was about 11 or 12, I went and auditioned for the Facts of Life spinoff, and I didn't get it, but I went to network, so I felt like I was really close, and mine be all that got it. And I was like saying to my mom, she was walking with her mom in the parking lot, and I knew she got it, and I was like, do you know how happy she is right now? And I was just crushed. And, you know, I think my mom said there's always another part. And right after that was when I got the original run of Roseanne. And if I had gotten that spinoff, I wouldn't have been able to do Roseanne. So I think it's just good to remember that, you know, you do get so many more no's in this industry than you get yes. And I can see from the other side too, how a lot of times it's not personal. Sometimes it's literally someone's not the right type for some reason. It could be anything. It could be they look too much like the other actor, that they look like they'd be siblings instead of playing boyfriend, girlfriend, or it could be like it was right between two people and the producers are going, I don't know, all right, this one, and this person never knows that they were just as good as the person that got the job. So I think it's just good to remember that you're just gonna get tons and tons of no's, and it's about self-evaluation and thinking about, okay, what was I happy with, what was I not happy with, what can I bring the next time around.
Thank you. This is from Manetta. She is. We constantly hear about the fact that the industry has changed a lot over the years. As somebody who's been in the business at the very top, could you share some of your stories of how the industry has changed and how you've experienced the changes?
Well, I think some of what I was saying before is there are so many more projects.
Right.
So that's great because there are more opportunities. There's more diversity, which is great. There can sometimes be more competition even though there's more roles because there's not such a strong line now between film and television,
Right.
so huge film actors will take parts. I'm trying to think about how else it's changed. Yeah, just, you're reaching less people in general. If you have something, if you just are on some small show, you're lucky if 1 million people are watching. So
Right.
that's really a different world because there's just so many options for viewers. In terms of the process though, I don't find it that different being on a set or what I'm doing if I'm acting.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're taking questions from Facebook. Oh, here they come. And from the studio audience here. Please like our page, please share our page, and tell everyone you know to tune in. This is from Facebook. As a producer, does an actor's training play a part in getting a role, or is an impressive resume the most important? How willing are you to take a chance on an actor who doesn't have a ton of credits?
I don't look at people's resumes, to be totally honest. I don't really care. If somebody comes in and they're great at the part, I don't care what's on paper, just the same as if they're terrible, I don't care. I'm happy to walk somebody through how to work on a sitcom set. That's the least of the problems. It's really, can they play the part? The only time I ever have looked at a resume really is if somebody isn't doing what's required, but I see 75% there. And I can try to piece together the story. Like, why is this person bringing emotional truth, but something's off in their technique? And then if I see they've never worked in that exact genre, then I can have some understanding of how to help them, or if it's just something that's a limitation.
Thank you. And this is from Paula Fairbrother, who's here. After you auditioned for Roseanne, did you feel you nailed the audition, good, bad?
Oh, probably. I was 13. It's like before all of the self-loathing sets in.
There's no one in this room that can relate.
Yeah, I remember when I did the audition, they did improv, and Lisi Goranson was already in the room because I think they decided that she should play Becky, and they had us improvise a fight, and so I started just feeling really free and saying, oh, well, you guys should just ship her to Hawaii, or I remember kind of saying that, and just it was really natural to fight with her. So I did feel kind of like I nailed it because it was such a fluid improv we had.
Great. And you weren't thinking about doing it well, you were doing it.
I was just having fun fighting, yeah.
That's great. This is from Roberto. Where are you? Oh, okay, he's an Australian, but yeah. Having returned to an iconic role in a television-defining program, and coming from your evolved role as a producer talk show host, Did you miss Darlene, and did you have any challenges coming back to the role?
I did miss the character, and we did a sketch, John Goodman and I did a sketch of it on my talk show, and I had thought about bringing it back or doing a spin-off or something with it, and I just kind of always thought no one wanted to do it. And then he did the talk show, and he said he would do it if people wanted to do it, and that made me start thinking, oh, maybe people actually are willing to do this project. But after we did the sketch, I remember walking in my dressing room and feeling really emotional, and I just thought, God, and I was like sad that this character was gone for me. And then I thought, well, I should just do it, you know, if it's that emotional. And maybe I guess I never felt done with the character, and I feel now, whatever happens, I think I'll feel done. Whether we do one more season or no more seasons or 10 more seasons, I think it will feel settled in me.
In terms of your process, do you have input into the writing now, as well as the vision of where the character goes? And how do you change hats when you have to switch to actor to producer?
I do have input with the show, and you know, I try to tread lightly so that so that the writers don't hate me. But I sit usually with them. Bruce Helford, who runs it, is really collaborative, and usually I try to sit in the writer's room as much as possible the first couple months of pre-production and talk about the characters, where we might go with them, and what feels great to watch. Ultimately, I trust him so much. So, but I like helping with that part and helping to decide what stories we want to tell, and then you know, there's so many brilliant writers there that I also trust them if they say no, we think this is a great direction, and all that. And then yeah, with my character as well. And I think you had asked about the challenges. One of the challenges was how much should Darlene be like what she was, and how much is Darlene something new? It's like a balance.
So when you've got a switch, when you've been part of the concept and where it's going, and then now you pick up the script as Darlene, you try to narrow your focus, or how do you approach that?
I don't really feel the transition, maybe because I've played the character for so long that it's really easy for me to drop into that character. I do notice sometimes in a scene, I'll be thinking about our scripts. I tease them because we're like 7 or 8 or 9 minutes long every episode, and they're only supposed to be 22 minutes long. So we have like a running joke, like I made a sweatshirt for the head writers with all the numbers of our overage time. So I'll be in, sometimes this is not good, but I'll be in a scene thinking, if that character stands there, we can't lift this piece out in editing. So then I'm like, okay, back in, you know, that don't do that. And usually on tape night, I don't, but on rehearsal sometimes I can feel myself watching.
When you are working with directors, the particular challenge of working with a director who's simply asking for results, how do you handle that?
Just don't listen. Say yeah. Don't say that. Sure. No, more results, to me it's like you need to translate it. So sometimes the director will say, can you pace up this scene? And to me that's just like not a good note, right? Because then you're just arbitrarily speeding something up. So the translation, depending on the scene, is more urgent, go after what you want, you're frustrated, bring in, they might not even mean faster. They say faster and they just might mean it's boring, you know, and it's like, you're not bringing in intensity, you're not bringing in honesty. So it is about translating what that means to get, or they want you to yell more, it's then, okay, what would make me more angry? Is this not hooking into me properly? So that's why I think notes and auditions are hard, because you don't have a long time to sort of translate what they're saying into how it will work best for a scene.
And on the flip side, have you had the good experience of working with actors, directors who can really help you or really helped you while you were working? If you
No.
want to name it. No.
Yeah, of
If you
course.
want to name names, you can. It's in the positive sense.
Yeah, in different ways. Like, I once worked with Stephen Frears, and he was the biggest director I had worked with, and I thought I was nervous, and I would ask him for notes, and he would just say, no, just do what you do. Do what you're doing is great. It was the most hands-off experience, but it really made you trust yourself and be creative. And I'm sure he gets in there if there's something that he doesn't love, but I thought that was great. That was just an awesome experience of learning to trust myself. I've had directors that make you feel badly about yourself, and then it just becomes sort of a toxic spiral. I had that once with a play I did, and I had a friend fly out then and just start working on the script with me. So it's like, instead of just, yeah, I did collapse at first, but then through the run, had her come out after the first or second day, and then just we fixed it together, you know, because it was about pulling myself out of that space I'd gotten to. There's a director, Gail Mancuso, I really love, who's done Roseanne, and she did it back originally. She always helps connect me to story. So, you know, even story that's not happening in the scene, she'll say, remember, it's your daughter's birthday, so let's have you wrapping a present in this scene. And it's great because it connects you, like, that it's not just about that moment, there's a whole life going on. And I remember when I was a kid, she directed me and I had to lie, and she said, no, make it, you gotta try to get away with the lie. And I was like, yeah, oh, okay. That really opened up a lot for me at that time, that understanding of playing the truth of the person instead of playing for the audience.
Excellent. We're taking questions from Facebook Live, from the audience here. Please like our page, share our page. The advice has been spectacular. This is from Alex, who's present. There you are. Hi. What is your process when you first get the script for an episode?
Well, I'm usually pretty familiar with it, because I'll get it before it goes to table, so we've gone back and forth on notes and stuff like that. When I get it to work on it as an actor, reading it a couple times, and then usually the first day of rehearsal, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I just try to not do too much work on it yet. Like, just let it land on me and kind of just do the scenes. And then I start memorizing on a good week, usually on Tuesday. Like, I just start, even though it changes, I find if you know it, it's easier to put the changes in than try to catch up on Thursday and learn the whole thing. And then I start thinking about what my character wants in different places that don't naturally feel. Some places I've learned, oh, if it feels right, it's probably doesn't need to be messed with too much, but I'll still go through and figure out what is happening in the scene. What time is it? What day is it? Okay, what do I want? You know, and then kind of throwing it away. But by Thursday, I'm going through really like what's not landing for me and what do I need to substitute in. And usually for each scene, I'll write a list of the things in my life that it reminds me of, or people it reminds me of, desires I want, whatever. And then even up till Friday, up till show night, we start at 6 and we're always a little early, and the stage managers will come to me, the ADs, and they'll say, can we start 10 minutes early? And I'm like, no! I just like to do homework. But on show night, I sort of have a routine where I look through it again and I fill in anything I've forgotten to fill out, even if it's time of day or whatever I've left out, I try to go through. And then I go on a run around the lot because I feel like it's just good to get in my body and listen to music, like things that connect me that remind me of what's going on in the piece. And then I do these body and voice exercises. So there's all these like kind of strange body exercises I learned from a friend. And first come the body ones, and there's like these weird tray things. And I was telling David Corey that like when I do that, I feel grief, I feel sadness come up. Like certain exercises start corresponding to different emotions for me, and then I feel like, oh, my body's online and my body's in the game, you know, because we're usually like from here up. And then I do these voice exercises, these ohms, you know, different ones for tragedy and ones for drama and ones for comedy. That's like a higher one, but you could do anything. It's like find whatever body and voice exercises, you know, because I'm very in my head. So for me, it's like get in my voice, get in my body, get in my feelings, and then you're like cooking more when you start.
So you don't just expect the instrument to switch on.
Right.
You actually get it going.
Actually get it going, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This is from Facebook. What support did you receive from your family? And how important was that support throughout your career?
I think the most important support was probably that my mom made me feel like this wasn't the most important thing in the world. You know, that family and education and being a good person is sort of the most important thing in the world, because this industry is rough and there's a lot of ups and downs, and if it's your God, then you're in trouble.
This is also from Facebook. Are there any projects coming up for you that you can talk about besides the comics?
I am producing right now, but it's a little premature to talk about. You know, you can't like
Jinx
announce
it.
Announce it when it's too small.
You talked a bit about using sources from your life. Is that something that you continue to explore, what to plug in where and what sources you have? Do you find it continues to grow and expand as the longer you live?
I mean, I don't know if other people find this, I'm curious, but like I will I'm married, I'll plug in my wife as the substitution for almost anything. and it works. Because that person hits your deepest feelings, your deepest frustrations, love, anger. You know, there's nothing quite like that relationship. Next is your parents and your children. I definitely use them too. But you know, you don't want to pick your neighbor in general unless you have like a really crazy neighbor. I find you pick those primal relationships and it's like you're on fire.
This is also from Facebook. What do you love about acting in comedy, and are there pitfalls to acting in comedy?
Yes. There are for sure pitfalls. Well, I love the response with the audience, that there's this sort of unspoken extra relationship when you're doing the scene, and the way that you're conscious of it but not conscious of it. It's like a strange other channel. So I like learning how much to let that in. So like when I'm working, I almost pretend the audience isn't there, but then it's like using that rhythm. It's really hard to articulate because you can't let it take away from the integrity of the scene. The person you're with is primary, but if a laugh comes, you can't keep driving, so you have to find an organic reason to pause with that person, connected to that person, not connected to the audience. So I like that game. And pitfalls, people trying to be funny. I mean, I think in general, it's funny because of the circumstances of the scene. So it's like the heightened kind of circumstances of the scene, or your character actually is making a joke, so that can be funny. But playing for the audience is just not really funny, you know. But again, for me, things need to be a little smaller, a little more anchored in truth. You know, Lori, she does things so broad and big. I do challenges with her every week where I'll say to her, okay, move your arm bigger this time. Every week I pick a new challenge. Can you run out of breath on this line? And she does it. So it's like some people can kind of break the rules. You know, she can break the rules. For me, I kind of can't break the rules.
This is from an Australian. This is Yana Wilkes. And it's, what is the biggest lesson, she wants to know what's the biggest lesson that I taught you that sticks with you every day or when you're working on a role.
What's her name?
This is Yana, she's right there.
Hi.
Hi.
Australia.
Do you take questions from Australians that are here?
If you're in the building.
Great, I'll stay standing.
Wait, so will you say it in your own words so I can understand? Oh, that you taught.
Yeah, that I taught.
Oh yeah,
I
haven't
thought
taught
you
them
meant that
anything
she's
yet.
taught.
No, since I was a character in it, I didn't say
Okay,
that.
so say it again.
What's the biggest lesson that Howard has taught you that you keep carrying on in your life every day?
Wow, so many. I mean, first I'll just say he's such a gracious person. Like, above all, like, what a great person and human being. So that's like the most important, right? Beyond that, I mean, he knows I came to him when I had already worked in my life and just felt stuck, and started with every other actor and just did the full 12-week intensive and took everything apart and put it back together. So I would say most valuable to me was just that entire process of putting myself back together as an actor. You know, similar to Stephen Frears, like when I have worked with Howard, he's so encouraging, you know, like, you're doing such a great job, this is in your wheelhouse. And so, like, even if I'm not, it's like just so helpful to feel that confidence. So I bring that with me. But also just, I think we have just similar viewpoints about not playing for the audience, or things being emotionally honest. And so it's so much, it's just hard to say one thing.
So when you say break or put yourself back together as an actor again, do you mean undo things that you might have taught or might have been taught previously, or like,
yeah, I don't even know if I was taught, but just started to get down a path where I didn't feel free, or I felt like I'm stuck in this scene. I don't quite know what to do. Like, just getting more tools. Like, I probably had some bad habits, felt stuck in certain ways, and so it helped me kind of find these new tools and like enrich the toolbox, basically. Is there something that you feel like you've learned that's your greatest thing you've learned from it?
Oh, goodness gracious. What's the greatest thing that I've learned from Howard?
She's a talk show host. She turned it back on you.
I'd say the biggest thing that I use daily in my life and my acting would be easy, effortless. Because there are so many lessons, but when Howard said that to me in the masterclass, July 2017, I put it on a post-it note on my fridge, and it became relevant to everything that I do, and I have to keep reminding myself of that because I was pushing too much in every area.
Yeah, I do that too. Like I'll work too hard and then the scene can't come to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I'm just trying and it doesn't land. And I think something too that comes with experience is just the ease of being in a scene. So it's like when I used to work, you're like, I'm walking across the stage. It just takes time, you know, and you just don't care, right? You're in your body and you're in the scene.
Great.
Beautiful,
Great
thank you.
conversation. Thank you. We're coming toward the last part of this. We're taking questions from Facebook and from the audience here. Please like our page, share our page. This is from Aziz, who's back over there. What fulfills you professionally, personally? Hobbies? And do you have a preference between acting, directing, producing?
What fulfills me is achieving something creatively that I set out to do, trying to get better. You know, I always think, oh, if I feel like we did this well, then I'll never need to do anything else again. And then that happens, and then you're like, okay, now what's next? You know, just kind of wanting to up the game. I find it really fulfilling to be able to give somebody a job. Like that to me is just one of the huge highlights of getting some success is that you get to share it.
You feel like being fulfilled right now?
Maybe.
It was Sarah's idea to come speak, by the way. It was an offer that she wanted to come to share.
Well, you're welcome to audition for something.
And he also asked about hobbies or things that keep you going.
Yeah, but I like that you say what you want. That's good. You know, it's good that you put it out there. Hobbies, I just sit on the internet far too much. Like by the time I've done so much work and I've got 3 kids, that then I get in bed and I'm just like, that's like how I get my mind off of everything. But I've just started clearing up some time and wanted to start going back to the movies and saw Bohemian Rhapsody yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that? I mean, that performance is insane. Yeah.
Since we're on media, his partner in crime right next to him, Chaz, what kind of impact do you think social media has had on the film industry?
Well, I think it gives the audience a voice. Sometimes it gives the most polarizing people a voice. So in some ways, I think films have gotten more careful, and television as well, not to offend. I think, you know, that can be dangerous because then you can't always make art if you're overly careful. On the plus side, I think it's raised a lot of awareness about things like diversity and equality for women. So I think there are pros and cons.
Well, thank you.
Sarah, final thoughts? Anything you want to share that we haven't covered, or anything you want to leave people with?
Final thoughts. I think just to reiterate something I said earlier, if you want it, listen to the voice in yourself that tells you what to do next. You are the captain of your own ship. You get the messages from inside, and it's great to come hear people speak or go get inspired, go to the movies, go see things, but ultimately you're supposed to be doing something, and your mind will tell you what to do.
On that note,